Hi, welcome to The Shed. My name is Mr. H, and this is our one-a-day musicianship challenge brought to you by Bob Rogers Travel. In this challenge, I'm going to show you how to practice spelling your major scales. I'm going to give you a couple strategies, a couple tips that I've picked up from teaching this over the years that might help you become a major scale master. So let's look at what you need for this challenge. You need your key cards, you need a pen or pencil, and you need a few pieces of paper. I'm just going to have out 2 here, but you're probably going to need more because I want you to write this stuff out. If you haven't spelled your major scales a lot, and if you're trying just to say them, you might make mistakes. And progress comes from purposeful repetition of something done the exact same way. So if you're making mistakes in there, you could, 1, the worst thing, you could learn something incorrectly. And 2, if you're making a mistake once, let's say you're going to spell like the G flat major scale, and you spell it 5 times. Maybe 3 out of the 5 times you spell it right. The other 2 times you spell it wrong. Every time you spell it wrong, you're doing anti-work, so write things down. Then you could check your work and make sure that you're correct. So we're going to be writing things down here. That's why you need the pen and the pencil and your key cards. So first step, you need to develop your baseline. You need to find out where you're at in all of these keys. So shuffle your deck. I shuffled my deck, right? Pick your first one and you're going to spell it out. Take as much time as you need. Try not to look at the back, and you're going to figure out when you're spelling all these things, you need to give it a rating when you're done. The rating of how well you have it mastered. 0 is 0% brain power, 100% mastery. That means you don't have to think about it. You're going to give it a 0. A 1, you had to think about it. You had to maybe take a little bit of time, but you got to the right answer. That's a 1. And a 2 is, oh my gosh, this one is impossible. I have no idea. And maybe you had to look at the back. So think about that. You need that rating system. 0 is mastery. 1 is I'm working on it. And 3 is like, oh my gosh, this is a really difficult key for me, okay? So you're going to spell the scale. And then while you're spelling it, think about, is this a 1? Is this a 2? Is this a 0? So, okay, so it's A flat. I'm going to write it down here. A flat. You could do 2 things. You could just write out the letters and then do the accidentals after. So let's try that. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is one way. I know the key of A flat, C, F, B, E, A. It has 4 flats. The 4 flats are B, E, A, D. So B, E, A, D flat. All right, that's one way to do it. And maybe that took me a little bit of time. Right to the left, you're going to give yourself the rating. So that's a 1, okay? Go to the next one. E flat. Let's do the same thing. Maybe you really know E flat. E flat, F, G. I know the 4th scale degrees. A flat, B flat. It only has 3 flats. Then let's say that's a 0. You didn't even have to think about it. Maybe you've done things in the key of E flat. Let's skip ahead to not C. Well, C. Hopefully you get a 0 on C. Let's say C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C is an easy one. Let's say you get to E and you're like, oh my gosh, E is a horrible key. I'm a wind player. I never play things in E. So you might have to go back and you rack your brain, and then maybe you have to cheat a little bit. Be like, oh, E, I don't even know. Oh, it has 4 sharps. And then you figure out what the sharps are, and you write them down. F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. And then this one, you were horrible at it. Give it a 2. Do that for all 15 of your keys, including the ones that are spelled enharmonically, so F sharp, C sharp, and C flat. So you're going to have 3 categories. You're going to have ones you didn't have to think about, you're going to have ones that you had to think about, and you're going to have ones that you really, really had to think about. And then what I want you to do, I want you to practice intelligently so you can be effective and efficient with your practice time. You're going to separate your cards into 3 piles. You're going to separate into piles. Let's say, I had A flat here. It was a 1. So I'd put all my 1s together. I put all my 0s together and all my 2s together. And then you're going to practice your 2s first. You're going to practice the ones you're the worst at first. You're going to go through, you're going to flip each one, and this is where all the paper comes in handy. You are going to write down every scale spelling every time you do it. I remember when I started learning this, I have 3 binders full of just me taking notes through major scales, going through different patterns. Did my majors, I did my harmonic minors, I did my melodic minors, I did my diminished scale, I did my whole tone scale. Just wrote everything out. I had a special pen that I used, and every time I used it, I made sure I was like, this is my pen. I'd used it, and then it ran out of ink, so I had to get another one. Like, have pride in spelling these things, and make sure that you're doing it on paper, because you'll know if you make a mistake. Every time you write it down, double check it. Flip a card over and just make sure you know that, oh yeah, it does have 3 sharps. Cool. So I want you to do this for a half hour. Make this a timed practice. You're going to go through, I wouldn't count the your like pre-assessment, your baseline, where you go through the first time with a shuffle and then you give everything a number. Don't count that. But as soon as you separate into 3 separate piles, set a timer for a half hour. And then when that timer dings, I want you to put all the cards together. And I want you to shuffle again. And then you're going to do your post-assessment. That's going to go on the other piece of paper. So you're going to write down your scales. After you write down each scale, you're going to give yourself another number. And you're going to be honest. Please be honest. It's so hard to be honest in the practice room and when you're studying something, because you want to get better. And it's really easy to lie to yourself and say, yeah, I got that. And then when it comes time for you to actually apply whatever that is, if you weren't honest with yourself, then you're not going to have those skills. So be honest with yourself. And then what you need to show for your teacher, what you need to take a picture of and submit are your 2 pieces of paper. You need to show your pre and your post. You could, if you want, show all of the other stuff that you have. You could take a picture with all of the sheets that you filled up. You can make them look pretty. You can use different colors. It doesn't matter. Just the repetition of doing something purposefully in the exact same way, that's what's going to make you a major scale master. But be smart. Practice efficiently and effectively. Good luck, stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you in the shed.